This is exactly why young people don't have no business making babies. You can't even tell the story to make no sense.
So I headed to Mr. Vermore's house. We wound up drinking and smoking. One thing led to another. We wound up having sex.
First of all, there is no truth to none of it.
What he just said.
Yes, let's start there.
A whisper at a club set this entire situation into motion one unpredictable night. Ms. Woods spotted Mr. Vollmer, and something sparked between them before the evening ended. But getting to his place wasn't simple. She had to wait for her other child's father to leave for work first.
I was going through some issues with my other kid's father. One night I went to the club and wound up running into Mr. Vermore. He actually walked up to me while I was having a drink.
That detail alone told the courtroom everything it needed to know about the situation she was navigating at the time. One complicated night was about to produce consequences that followed everyone into Judge Lake's courtroom.
We exchanged numbers. I wound up leaving the club, called me the following morning and asked me, can I come over to his house?
Once she arrived at Mr. Vollmer's home, the night unfolded quickly and without much deliberation. Drinking and smoking set the tone, and what followed was not particularly planned by either party. A contraceptive failure changed the entire trajectory of that evening in one moment.
So I headed to Mr. Vermore's house. We wound up drinking and smoking. One thing led to another. We wound up having sex.
Ms. Woods told him immediately that pregnancy came easily to her body. She described herself as someone who conceives quickly. That warning should have made everything that followed feel less surprising than it apparently did.
The condom popped. I told him, like, I'm a fast breeder. Like, I have 4 other kids. So
a fast breeder?
Yes.
Mr. Vollmer came to court armed with a medical argument he believes settled the question entirely. He claimed a documented low sperm count had already prevented pregnancies with 3 other women before this.
I don't know, because, you know, I've tried it before, it didn't work. I don't know.
So when you say you tried it before and it didn't work, what do you mean?
In his mind, the biology simply didn't support the possibility that he had fathered this child. That confidence radiated off him as he stood before Judge Lake making his case. But medical history and medical certainty are 2 very different things, and the courtroom was about to learn that distinction.
I tried to get 3 different women pregnant, and when I stopped trying, she gets pregnant. I don't know, it don't add up to me.
The full picture of Ms. Woods' living situation at the time added significant complexity to everything. She had been residing with another man when her involvement with Mr. Vollmer occurred. According to Mr. Vollmer, he had been the side arrangement present in her life while her primary partner remained unaware.
In the bed with him. I mean, of course you're gonna have sex.
Ms. Woods, if you were living with him...
I was in a relationship with my other kid's father, but I was not having with him within that month.
He described moments of being in her presence while she maintained phone contact with the man she lived with. That parallel existence had been carefully managed and quietly sustained for longer than anyone had fully disclosed.
I can see.
You had Mr. Vollmer
She'll be on the phone with her boyfriend. I'll be laying in the bed, rubbing on her booty while she's talking to him.
Because she was sharing a home with another man, Ms. Woods faced a dilemma when the pregnancy became undeniable. She felt compelled to present that man as a possible father despite her own internal certainty about who was responsible.
Did you ever tell your ex that he could be Madison's father?
When I found out I was pregnant,
she had kept Mr. Vollmer's name and role largely separate from the other relationship throughout the pregnancy. That compartmentalization had consequences that rippled outward far beyond the 2 people directly involved. A baby named Madison had entered the world without a confirmed father attached to her life.
I have no choice but to tell him that he might be the father because I was staying with him at the time. So I'm stuck having a baby.
The physical resemblance debate then took center stage in that courtroom with both parties digging in. Ms. Woods pointed to baby Madison's eyes and nose as features she believed clearly reflected Mr. Vollmer.
I'm positive. I'm 100% sure.
I don't even know his
Look at that baby. That baby looks just like you. She don't look nothing like me. That baby don't have anything for me but my toes.
Mr. Vollmer looked at the same child and conceded exactly one shared trait, the toes. The gap between those 2 assessments was wide enough to drive an entire paternity dispute through. Judge Lake observed both parties making their visual arguments and let the science wait its turn.
The baby looked exactly like him. His eyes, his nose, facial structure, that baby looked just like him.
After their brief involvement concluded, Ms. Woods had relocated to another state entirely to escape mounting personal drama. She had taken the pregnancy with her, and Mr. Vollmer had been left completely in the dark.
So why would you mess things up by going to be with Mr. Vollmer repeatedly?
It was just so much.
I
going.
He didn't learn a baby had been born until Ms. Woods eventually returned to town and the news reached him. Those months of absence had created a gap in this child's story that no one had properly filled. A father, potential or confirmed, had missed the beginning of Madison's life without even knowing it was happening.
On with my other kids' father, like the fussing and fighting, like I got tired of that.
So let's go cheat on him.
Pretty much.
Good job.
Mr. Vollmer had taken a step toward finding answers on his own. At one point before the court date, he purchased an at-home DNA testing kit with the intention of resolving his doubt privately. But somewhere between buying it and sending it in, his reasoning shifted in a very telling direction.
She left Georgia, ran to Louisiana, had a baby, didn't call me till after the baby was born. Then she comes back to Georgia like, I have your daughter here.
He questioned why he should spend his own money confirming paternity for a child that might belong to someone else entirely. The kit came back unused and the question it could have answered kept growing louder.
You called me 8 months later.
What you want me to do?
I found out she was pregnant. Within 2 to 3 months, she was gone.
A medical professional had reviewed Mr. Vollmer's condition and delivered a finding that complicated his confident denial. Yes, a low sperm count was confirmed and documented without dispute from either side, but the same medical assessment revealed that roughly 60% of men with his condition can still father children through natural conception.
He brought
The
it
store,
back.
Mr. Vollmer?
I wish I could have took her back to the store. She's the worst thing that happened to me. I promise you, I got so many headaches.
That statistic transformed his ironclad medical defense into something far less certain than he had been presenting. Like and subscribe because Judge Lake's envelope contains either a medical surprise or a long overdue confirmation, and it hits hard either way.
This is like,
Why didn't you take the DNA test?
$75 to $100 for you to get the results back.
Courtroom had absorbed a story built on a club encounter, a broken contraceptive, and a deliberately hidden relationship. Two men had existed in Ms. Woods' life simultaneously, and only one of them was sitting in that room. Baby Madison had no confirmed father yet, and she deserved better than the uncertainty surrounding her from day one.
So, Mr. Vollmer had several factors that indicate he does have a low sperm count. One was the sperm count itself. It was at 20 million.
Mr. Vollmer's biology said probably not, but science was about to override probability with proof. Judge Lake opened that envelope and delivered the answer that a little girl named Madison had been waiting for without even knowing it.
Anything below 20 million is considered low sperm or oligospermia. Based on those results, 40% of men with his type of picture actually need medical help to
A whisper at a club set this entire story into motion, and now a verdict was about to close it. Every twist, every denial, and every complicated living arrangement had led to this single moment. Madison's identity was no longer going to rest on arguments about toes or probability statistics.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Vollmer, you are...
Judge Lake held the result, and the courtroom held its breath simultaneously. Whatever that envelope revealed, one chapter was finally ending, and another was just beginning for everyone involved.
the father.
Thank you. Thank you. You're the father.
Mr. Montgomery walked into that courtroom carrying a grief that hadn't finished breaking him yet. Miss Parker had allowed him to name baby Timothy after his own deceased father, and now she was saying he wasn't the dad at all.
Mr. Montgomery, you say Miss Parker led you to believe that you fathered her 3-month-old son, Timothy Montgomery. You say you were present at the birth?
That reversal wasn't just painful, it was personal in a way that cut straight to his core. She had handed him the most meaningful connection imaginable and was now moving to erase it legally. Whatever the DNA revealed, the emotional damage of this moment was already done.
Name the baby, sign the birth certificate, but now Miss Parker says you're not the father.
Miss Parker had made her decision and she wasn't wavering from it in that courtroom. She was now convinced her new fiancé, Mr. Lanou, was Timothy's biological father. She wanted Mr. Montgomery's name removed from the birth certificate.
Miss Parker, you claim to be 100% positive that Mr. Montgomery is not your son's biological father.
Entirely and officially. That request meant undoing a legal bond that had existed since the moment Timothy entered the world. One document, one name, and one woman determined to rewrite what it said.
Because your fiancé, Mr. Lanou, is. Now,
Her original reason for believing Mr. Montgomery was the father came down to a single image. A 3-dimensional ultrasound had shown her a baby whose features she felt clearly resembled him.
that time, did you or did you not believe he was? Timothy's
thought he was the father.
That visual connection had been enough at the time to point her toward Montgomery with confidence. But confidence built on an ultrasound is a fragile thing when more than one man is in the picture.
He looked just like Mark in the ultrasounds.
So during the ultrasounds, you felt like they resembled?
Yeah.
And in this case, there was absolutely more than one man in that picture. Miss Parker admitted something in that courtroom that made the paternity question genuinely wide open. She had been involved with both Mr. Montgomery and Mr. Lanou around the same time and on the same day.
Talk to me about how you were in a relationship with two different men.
I was with Mark, and he was always on Xbox.
That overlap meant either man could realistically be Timothy's biological father without any contradiction. A baby's entire identity was hanging on a timeline that offered no clean or obvious answer. Judge Lake had heard complicated cases before, but this one came with its own particular kind of sting.
He wouldn't even have sex with me during the whole pregnancy because he felt weird.
Relationship between Miss Parker and Mr. Montgomery had its own set of problems running underneath everything else. He had been disengaged and emotionally withdrawn during their time together, often retreating into video games instead of being present with her.
The first time he had left was the first time me and her met. Throughout the whole time, even told him that we were sleeping together after he came back.
Yeah, he did.
He used to go upstairs to shower, and I'm over there having sex with her.
That distance had created space for something else to develop without much resistance. She hadn't been hiding Mr. Lanou. The situation had apparently been far more open than most people would expect. What unfolded next inside that shared living space was something that needed to be heard to be fully believed.
Her downstairs, or the same chair he's sitting in there playing Xbox.
He was up there taking a shower.
He's laying sitting inside playing Xbox. I played Xbox, but yet I'm not registered while we're having.
Mr. Lanou didn't just describe being involved with Miss Parker, he described exactly where and when it happened. He claimed their involvement had taken place in the lower level of a home, while Mr. Montgomery was present upstairs.
While Mr. Montgomery would be in the house.
Upstairs in the shower. I even told him that we were together, and all he did, we was face to face, and all he did was walk to the stairs.
According to Mr. Lanou, he had even told Montgomery directly what was happening between them. Montgomery's response to that information hadn't been confrontation or anger, it had been something far more heartbreaking. He had walked to the staircase, sat down, and quietly broken apart while the situation continued around him.
Down and cry. I straight up told him, name a date, name a place. If you got a problem, you can square up with me any day. I won't.
Mr. Montgomery confirmed that version of events in his own words before Judge Lake. He described the depth of hurt he felt watching someone he cared for choose another man so openly. Rather than fighting for his place, he had stepped back and eventually walked away entirely at her request.
She wanted me out.
I did.
And I granted her her wish. She sat there and came to me, she told me she would rather be with Luke because...
But walking away from her hadn't meant walking away from Timothy, the child he had bonded with and believed was his son. Leaving that baby behind had been the cost of honoring what she said she wanted from him.
I sat there and I granted her that wish because I'm not going to force a woman to love me.
The Father's Day video call told a story that no courtroom argument could have conveyed more clearly. Miss Parker had connected Mr. Montgomery with Timothy over video so he could see the child he missed. He had stayed on that call and cried for a significant period of time afterward alone.
She called me, video Facebook chatted me on Father's Day.
A man doesn't grieve like that over a child he was never truly connected to in some real way. Whatever the biology said, the bond between Montgomery and Timothy had been genuine, and it had cost him deeply to lose it.
To sit there because she goes, oh, well, on the off chance that, you are Timothy's father, I thought you would like to see him on Father's Day. Crying the whole time after I get off the...
Miss Parker's reasoning for wanting the switch made official came down to something practical and observable. Mr. Lanou had been consistently active and involved with all three of her children in ways that mattered day to day.
Until he left, could not conceive a child.
Do you really want Timothy to be Mr. Lanou's child?
Yes, I do.
She framed her preference around presence and participation rather than biology alone. But courts don't determine fatherhood based on who shows up most helpfully, they follow the science. Like and subscribe because Judge Lake addresses that reasoning directly before opening the envelope, and it's something you need to hear.
You want to be with Mr. Lanou?
Because he is honestly more active with all three of my kids. I want him to be Timothy's father.
The question hanging over that courtroom had two very different human faces attached to it. One man had cried on a staircase, cried on a video call, and carried the name of his deceased father into this child's life.
Has been determined by this court, Mr. Montgomery.
The other had stepped up actively and built something real with the children around him, including Timothy. Both had claims that felt legitimate depending on which lens lens you looked through. But only one answer lived inside the envelope Judge Lake was now holding in her hands.
You are not the father.
Thanksgiving phone call shattered a relationship that had lasted 25 years. Mr. Beauville picked up the phone and told his adult daughter, Carrie, he wanted a DNA test done. No warning, no gradual conversation, just a holiday call that ended a daughter's certainty about who she was.
Mr. Beauville, you claim for more than 20 years you held on to a secret that Miss Beauville's father is...
Carrie didn't just lose her appetite that day, she lost her foundation. She responded the only way she could, by taking the man who raised her directly to court.
Another man.
2 years ago, I received a phone call from another brother of mine stating that
Mr. Beauville's doubt hadn't arrived suddenly or without a history behind it. 10 years into their family life, people around town had started telling him something he didn't want to hear.
Met Regina. I lived in Boston. Regina lived in Springfield.
Word was spreading that another man was claiming to have been involved with his wife, Regina. Those whispers hadn't come from strangers. They had circulated within a community close enough to feel the weight of every word. A decade of building a family had been quietly undermined by rumors he couldn't fully ignore.
And when I relocated from Boston to Springfield, the first 2 weeks I got there, people I didn't even know was telling me.
The other man at the center of this story made the situation dramatically more complicated than it already was. He wasn't a stranger from outside the family's world. He was connected to Regina's own family directly. He was married to one of her relatives.
Should have left.
So all of these years, Mr. Beauville,
which meant his presence in their lives hadn't been occasional or distant. This wasn't a simple outside affair. It was a tangle embedded deep within the family tree itself. The closer you looked at the connection, the messier the picture became.
You believe that this other man, who's married to a family member, could be Carrie's biological father?
Yes, Your Honor.
One specific encounter had finally pushed Mr. Beauville past the point of suppressing his doubt quietly. He came face to face with one of Carrie's cousins from the other man's side of the family.
What convinced me was 4 years ago, I went to North Carolina and I finally met some of Carrie's cousins.
The resemblance between that cousin and Carrie stopped him cold in a way words couldn't adequately describe. Physical similarity can be dismissed once, but when it mirrors someone from a specific bloodline, it becomes harder to explain away. That encounter had planted a seed that 25 years of family life couldn't uproot.
The person that I'm talking to, one of her cousins, is his granddaughter. Your Honor, if I had a picture and showed it to you right now of her cousin.
Mr. Beauville's supporting evidence extended beyond that one striking encounter. He pointed to something that sounded unusual but clearly mattered deeply to him personally. Every member of his family shared certain physical traits, the same glasses, the same smile, the same recognizable features passed down through generations.
anybody in my family, from my first cousins down to my third cousins, we all have the same trait.
Carrie didn't carry any of those markers as far as he could see. To him, that absence spoke louder than anyone in her life had been willing to acknowledge.
One, we're all blind, we all wear glasses. Two, we all smile exactly the same. And
Gina was not going to stand in that courtroom and let these accusations go unanswered. She rejected every claim her husband was making and challenged the entire premise of his doubt. Her position was sharp and direct. If he had genuinely distrusted her, he should have walked away long before 25 years had passed between them.
First of all, there is no truth to none of it.
What he just said.
Yes, let's start there.
Staying silent for decades and then delivering a DNA demand on Thanksgiving was not something she was prepared to treat as reasonable. Her frustration filled the courtroom, and it was entirely understandable.
Second of all, Mr. Beauville, if you doubted me, if you did not trust me.
Detail about the birth certificate then surfaced that gave Mr. Beauville's doubt additional texture. His name did not appear on Carrie's birth certificate, a fact that had apparently never been formally addressed in all those years.
In the court papers, I found her birth certificate. Now, on her birth certificate, there is no father listed.
His explanation was simple. He had never gotten around to signing it at the time. Whether that was negligence or something more deliberate was a question the courtroom couldn't definitively answer. But an absent signature on a child's birth record carries its own kind of implication, whether intended or not.
I never found none of my kids' birth.
Mr. Beauville then described something that had been been one of the most direct wounds to his sense of reality. He claimed the other man had looked him in the face and stated outright that Carrie was his child. That kind of confrontation delivered personally and without apology is not something a person forgets or easily dismisses.
Did he ever say anything to you specifically about actually being Carrie's father?
Regina called that claim an absolute fabrication with no truth attached to it whatsoever. Two completely opposite versions of a conversation that one of them says never happened at all.
Yes, he did. When
What
I
did he
moved to
say?
South Carolina, he gonna say, that's my baby.
Then Carrie's brother James took the stand and brought something none of them had fully anticipated. He confirmed that their father had shared his paternity doubts with him privately years before this courtroom appearance.
Me and my dad have a close relationship, so like he had to tell me this like 4 years ago, a few years ago when he come down.
Mr. Beauville had carried this question for a long time without ever bringing it directly to Carrie. A brother had known and stayed quiet while his sister remained completely unaware of what was being doubted about her origin. That silence had its own consequences, and Carrie was sitting in court absorbing all of them at once.
So I had brushed it off, you know, because it was really like finding it like necessary to interrupt my sister with. I didn't tell her.
25 years of family memories, holidays, milestones, and daily life were all attached to the answer inside that envelope. Like and subscribe, because Judge Lake's reading of this result hits differently when a grown daughter's entire identity is on the line.
It has been determined by this court.
Mr. Beauville had raised Carrie through every stage of her life up to this point, regardless of what biology said. The other man had apparently been making claims from a distance for just as long. Judge Lake opened that envelope, and 25 years of a carefully kept secret was finally forced into the open.
Mr. Beauville, you are the father.
Mr. Portoris walked into that courtroom furious and financially drained before anyone said a word. He was paying child support for a child he insisted was not biologically his.
Mr. Portis, you and your mother have petitioned the court for a DNA test because you are certain you are not the father of the defendant's daughter, Ava.
Miss Middlebrooks stood firm on the opposite side with equal certainty and zero hesitation. These two were not going to find common ground through conversation. That much was obvious immediately. Judge Lake had a courtroom full of unresolved anger, and she was the only one equipped to sort through it.
You say your life has been ruined and need today's paternity results to set the record straight.
Chaos had actually started before anyone stepped foot inside that room at all. A scheduled DNA test had come and gone without either party showing up to complete it properly. Mr. Portoris had missed his court date entirely.
Don't you have to get a DNA before you can be put on child support?
We went together.
You didn't show up to court twice.
It was once.
You paying child support for this baby.
And the legal system had responded swiftly and without mercy. Because of that absence, a default order had landed on him, and he was now legally bound to pay. He hadn't understood the consequences of skipping that appearance, and the price had been steep and immediate.
Yes, thousands of dollars.
But you say you've never had a DNA test.
No.
And that's because you had a court date.
The core disagreement between these two came down to a timeline neither could agree on. Mr. Portoris maintained that he and Miss Middlebrooks had not been in any kind of relationship when the pregnancy occurred.
But when she got pregnant, we stopped talking. We weren't talking at the time that she got pregnant. Like, she had hit me up and was like, hey, I'm pregnant.
Miss Middlebrooks held the opposite position and described their involvement as ongoing at that time. Then Facebook entered the conversation and complicated her version of events significantly. A secret boyfriend had been hiding in plain sight on her social media, and his existence was now part of the official record.
And be prepared.
We were definitely together.
No, we weren't, because I found out that she had another boyfriend.
A letter Miss Middlebrooks had written to her former partner after becoming pregnant drew pointed attention next. She described the letter as nothing more than a friendly piece of correspondence with no deeper meaning.
She got pregnant, a letter she sent them.
Wait a minute.
I sent the guy a letter telling him that I was pregnant, letting him know what was going on.
Mr. Portoris looked at that explanation and found it completely unconvincing given the circumstances surrounding it. Judge Lake studied both of them carefully as the exchange unfolded without resolution. A letter written to an ex during a pregnancy is rarely as casual as the person who wrote it wants it to appear.
This is exactly why young people don't have no business making babies. You can't even tell the story to make no sense.
Mr. Portoris' mother had heard enough from the sidelines and made her presence in that courtroom fully known. The moment she joined the conversation, the volume in that room escalated dramatically and rapidly.
Their relationship. I mean, when were they?
Did I have intercourse with you? Were I with you? No, I didn't.
Multiple voices competed simultaneously, and the hearing briefly lost all sense of structured order. Judge Lake shut it down with the kind of authority that makes an entire room go still in seconds. But the damage to the proceedings proceedings had already been done, and the tension didn't leave when the noise did.
Thanks, though. We're nobody talking to you.
Hold on, lady.
Facebook message from Miss Middlebrooks' former partner to Mr. Portoris then surfaced as a significant development. That other man had apparently been involved in supporting the child during this entire period. Mr. Portoris heard that and immediately questioned the purpose of every payment he had been forced to make.
Her ex that she was dealing with had contacted me on Facebook. He was basically saying like, yo, Bryant, Jasmine, does she have you on child support and stuff like that? And I'm like, yes.
If another man was stepping up financially and otherwise, what exactly was the child support order accomplishing? That question hung in the air without a satisfying answer attached to it.
She does. She's been having me on child support. He was like, well, that's crazy because I'm taking care of her too. So it's like, just like an imbalance here.
Miss Middlebrooks' own aunt then stepped into the testimony and delivered something her niece clearly hadn't anticipated. The aunt recalled that Miss Middlebrooks had initially identified her former partner as the possible father, not Mr. Portoris.
Yes.
Who did she tell you the father was?
At the time, the only person I knew was the ex.
Miss Middlebrooks pushed back and denied that account directly and without concession. Mr. Portoris added that she had told him to leave during the pregnancy, which had shaped everything that followed between them. Family members rarely make things simpler in a paternity courtroom, and this one was no exception.
Who did she say the father was?
She said the ex.
I already knew that.
Judge Lake then delivered a legal reality check that Mr. Portoris had clearly never fully grasped before that moment. Missing a scheduled court date in a paternity case doesn't just delay things, it can establish legal fatherhood by default.
That came later on down the line when she was 1. So they
did
found
the
out
child
much
support a year later.
Yeah, they found out much before that he was the dad.
He had become the legal father of baby Ava through his own absence, rather than through any biological confirmation. That information visibly landed on him as something he was processing for the very first time. The legal system had moved forward without him, while he assumed his absence had simply paused things.
At some point, you came clean.
Yes, not even long after that.
Mr. Portoris had encountered his daughter Ava only 4 times across the span of her entire young life. His mother had not had a single interaction with the child she might be biologically connected to at all.
I didn't ask you to step up. I want Brian to
You messaged my phone talking about
what do I need
some
you
type
to
of
step
grandma
up
and
for?
this.
Judge Lake addressed that reality directly and made clear that a child's well-being couldn't be an afterthought in the middle of an adult dispute. Like and subscribe, because what Judge Lake says before opening that envelope reframes this entire case in a way nobody expected. Ava was growing up on the edges of a conflict she had never asked to be placed at the center of.
What do I need? Yes, because you're not encouraging him to get the DNA test done.
I did.
Continue to,
You backed out.
I did.
You encouraged
my
You backed
son.
out.
Even if the DNA result pointed away from Mr. Portoris entirely, Judge Lake made something unmistakably clear. The legal obligation he carried wasn't automatically erased by biology when a default order was already in place.
There's still a very real possibility you're Ava's father.
Yes.
And if you're not, you may not be able to get yourself off child support.
He had learned that lesson the expensive and painful way through his own inaction. A result that said he wasn't the biological father wouldn't necessarily mean freedom from the financial and legal responsibilities already attached to his name. The system had made its ruling, and understanding it, Late didn't change what it had already set in motion.
Because you all may have waited too long, and the court will follow what is in the best interest of the child.
Every argument, every accusation, and every missed appointment had funneled down to the envelope Judge Lake now held. Baby Ava deserved a definitive answer that the adults in her life had been unable to provide cleanly on their own.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Portis.
Mr. Portoris had been paying for a child he might or might not have fathered, and that ambiguity had cost everyone something real. Miss Middlebrooks had been holding her position across every challenge thrown at her version of events. Judge Lake opened that envelope, and the courtroom finally got the answer that a little girl named Ava had always deserved to have spoken out loud.
You are the father.
Mr. Pace sat in that courtroom with tears in his eyes over a boy named Prince he loved completely. He had believed from the beginning that Prince was his son and built his entire world around that certainty.
Pace, you say you will be crushed today if DNA results reveal you are not biological father of your son.
But a possibility had surfaced that threatened to pull that foundation out from under him without warning. The person who may have shattered everything wasn't a stranger. It was someone he called his best friend. This case didn't just involve unresolved betrayal had involved the deepest kind a person can experience.
You maintain that the defendant betrayed you by cheating with Prince's second possible father, your best friend.
Their story had started simply enough with an attraction that moved quickly into something serious. Miss Fobbs had caught Mr. Pace's attention, and the connection between them developed without much hesitation.
Well, we met while I was actually driving. It was a hot day. She had on...
She moved into the home he shared with his best friend, Mr. Randolph, and life seemed to be taking shape around them. Then came the pregnancy, and everything shifted into a new and more committed direction. Mr. Pace and Miss Fobbs moved out together and began building what felt like a real future with a child on the way.
Short shorts, I'm a leg man.
Okay.
Loneliness had crept into Miss Fobbs's experience at some point during their time together, and she hadn't handled it well. One night, involving alcohol and poor judgment, she ended up in a situation with Mr. Randolph that should never have happened.
I wouldn't necessarily call it a love triangle because the situation with me and Randolph only happened once.
She described it afterward as a single isolated incident that she hadn't planned or anticipated in any way. But one night is all it takes for a paternity question to plant itself and refused to leave. Now that question had followed everyone into a courtroom where it could no longer be avoided.
Upon me being in the house with Byron, the thing is,
When Miss Fobbs finally told Mr. Pace what had happened, the conversation was as difficult as it gets. She dropped the possibility that his best friend could be Prince's biological father into the middle of an already emotional moment. Mr. Randolph confirmed the encounter when confronted.
We were actually in a heated argument at the time that it occurred, but it kind of just got blurted out to me that...
Removing any chance of the story being dismissed as exaggeration, Mr. Pace absorbed that confirmation and responded by requesting a DNA test rather than exploding in that moment. The restraint he showed said something significant about the kind of man he was and how much Prince meant to him.
Mr. Randolph could be a potential father for Prince.
Mr. Randolph's explanation for what had happened didn't carry much weight in that courtroom or anywhere else. He attributed the incident to intoxication and said he didn't even know with certainty whether protection had been used that night. That level of uncertainty and the casualness of his account made the situation feel even worse for everyone listening.
I wasn't in the right state of mind. We both was intoxicated. He was out promoting clubs. She used to come home from the club intoxicated.
Mr. Pace had been the one showing up consistently and loving that child, while his friend couldn't even remember the basic details of a night that changed everything. The contrast between the two men in that room was stark and impossible to ignore.
Looking for him. He's not there. Me and her talk.
And so was this sex unprotected?
Honestly, Your Honor.
The courtroom then turned its attention to the question of physical resemblance and what it might suggest. People had been studying Prince's features, trying to find answers that science alone could properly provide. Miss Fobbs admitted she had kept this secret for years out of fear of what telling the truth would cost her.
Yeah, he looks like Byron more than he looks like Randolph.
I see my nose a little, as well as maybe my upper lip a tad.
The weight of carrying that knowledge quietly had clearly taken a toll she hadn't been able to fully hide. Meanwhile, Mr. Pace had been present for Prince in every meaningful way. A father could be regardless of biology.
The nose kind of flares out like mine.
Was it a secret you were holding and during the argument you just had to let it out?
Yeah.
Seeing both men regularly had placed Mr. Pace in an emotional position that was genuinely difficult to endure. He had continued showing up for Prince while knowing the possibility that his best friend might be the biological father. Miss Fobbs expressed a deep desire to preserve what they had built as a family despite the damage her choices had caused.
Well, it's been difficult. I love her, but it's just been difficult when you're caught between two people that you care about.
She was hoping that the love invested in their home could outlast the betrayal that had fractured its foundation. But hope and reality don't always travel in the same direction when a DNA result is about to be read aloud.
But you still have doubts. Like I say, I see this man on a daily basis as well as I see her on a daily basis.
Like and subscribe, because Judge Lake's reading of this envelope delivers one of the most emotionally charged moments this courtroom has ever produced. Mr. Pace had cried for Prince, fought for Prince, and shown up for Prince without confirmation or guarantee.
It has been determined by this court, Mr. Pace.
Mr. Randolph had contributed one night of poor decisions and a vague recollection of it afterward. Miss Fobbs had held a truth that affected everyone around her for far longer than she should have. Judge Lake opened that envelope, and Prince's future was finally going to be shaped by fact rather than fear.
You are not his father.